Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And before I jump into the TVP 100 gameplay today, I want to highlight one of the coolest things that ever happened to me in my life. I was playing with my buds Ike and Phil during the 10 years anniversary since I started streaming on Friday. And without warning, Wargaming put up a pop-up in the garage wishing me a happy streaming anniversary. And when I clicked it, it gave me a cake from the World of Tanks team. World of Tanks, this meant so much to me. I had to try and jump into a game as quickly as possible to prevent me from tearing up. I'm honored to be part of this game for so long and honored to be part of the World of Tanks community. And thank you very much, Wargaming, for creating a game that everyone can be so passionate about. We love it, and even when we hate it, we love it, right? And to celebrate, Wargaming had another surprise for me, and that is that this weekend only, ending on Monday, that I'm able to give a day of premium, 150,000 credits worth of consumables and some personal reserves to everybody on the EU, NA, and Asia server through my stream today. So if you're watching this as it goes live, if you can put up with me for 4 hours on Twitch, you can get a day of premium on your account. Anyway, let's get stuck in with the TVP 100. So the TVP 100, unless you've been living under a rock for the last couple of weeks, which people have been grinding the bonus stage of the Battle Pass to be able to get, has been filling the matchmaker with raw firepower. This thing is an outrageous damage dealer with an incredible rate of fire that just seems to absolutely clap its way through its opponents with absolute disrespect. I think that's the best way to describe it. A lot of the community has been describing the TVP 100 as kind of like a T67, but at tier 8. Of course, it's very big and it's not very well armored, so this thing definitely isn't as sneaky as a T67, and it doesn't have nearly as much gun depression at only 6 degrees compared to the 10 degrees that vehicle would have. But nevertheless, this thing is voracious. You can get the rate of fire if you're using a premium consumable and you've got a good crew and you're using a gun rammer on this vehicle, down to just over 4 seconds. It's got 2,778 base damage per minute, which you can ramp up to about the 3,500 mark with the correct setup on this tank. That makes this thing just an incredible damage dealer with all the flexibility on its turret as well. A lot of people have been trying to fire high explosive rounds at the TVP 100, I guess expecting that a vehicle that looks like it only has a gun shield to also be very poorly armored. And while this turret on the tank, it isn't well armored, it's about 60, and it kind of ends up at probably being about 80 or 90 millimeters of effective armor. There's not that many high explosive rounds that really have the penetration to reliably go into it. This KV-3, this is going to be a perfect example of the outrageous ammunition that this vehicle has. We fire an AP shell, and then what we're going to do is change to a heat shell here using intuition. And you notice how he was angling correctly, and he would always bounce our armor-piercing shells, but because the high-explosive anti-tank rounds on this vehicle have 330 millimeters of penetration, which is absolutely staggering for Tier 8, we're able to go through his angled armor. That's because not a lot of people realize that heat rounds will actually penetrate up to 85 degrees of angled armor, although they don't normalize, so they really need a lot of penetration to be able to get through the plate. That makes them incredible for going through plates that are of medium thickness, but are very well angled. And that allows the TVP to just be so darn flexible. And to have that intuition switch of a second, you can pick the right round for the job. And here it's going to be an HE round to do 457 damage to the VK and to follow it up with a kill with an armor-piercing shell on the ISG-152. And yeah, you think we're done? We're going to lock down the tracks of the T-25-2, although he actually managed to keep going, but I guess he thought there's no way this tank is going to reload. Yes, it is. Unfortunately, we're unable to avoid the artillery shell there, and we take our first real significant damage of the game. And just like that, in the first 3 minutes of this game, we've managed to pick up 3 kills, and we've also done 3,000 combined, including 2,800 damage. But my team is still down on tanks by 4. This is going to have to be one of those ridiculous games that only tanks with high damage per minute can be able to get through. And you can't really compromise for high damage per minute. Anyone who's been playing the Rinoceronte will know that. And the absolute mad thing about this vehicle is it goes up to having the highest damage per minute in the game if you can manage to penetrate these high explosive shells. I managed to put 454 damage into a T-52, follow up with 377 against the Scorpion, which actually allows me to be able to finish them off in 2 shots rather than 3 shots if only I'd fired armor piercing. Come round the corner again, deal with the CS-52 lease, and the ISU-152 is going to press affirmative in chat, as we did manage to possibly save their bacon there. Although I guess they had the hit points, so maybe we were just allowing them to have enough hit points to hopefully get through the rest of the game. We dodged the artillery shells, used the mobility of this vehicle, which is limited to 55 kilometers an hour with a healthy power to weight ratio. I personally like to use a turbo on this tank, as well as a gun rammer and coated optics to give this thing just raw mobility to match its firepower. And even though we've managed to destroy 6 vehicles and deal 4,000 damage, our team is still down by 4 tanks in this game. But this is where I'm actually going to have my first, should we say, bad moments of this replay, where I'm not really getting the jump on the enemy team. Maybe I was a little bit too confident against this VK, and he's definitely chunking me down. However, I'm removing pretty much his vehicle from the battle, and I'm going to reload an HE round here, which I actually made a bit of a misplay because I missed the intuition. And then I'm going to be able to just derp a little bit of damage on the front of his tank. And even though I couldn't have probably penetrated that angle with armor piercing, we can with an HE shell. Or at least we can splash with an HE shell and do enough. So the VK coming around the corner with the derp gun, I wasn't messing around with that. The artillery lays out a double barrage as we come around the corner. And that was a fast Radley Walters medal. 5 minutes into this game, and we're at 5,000 combined with 8 kills. But we're still down by 2 tanks, and it's dead even on hit points. You can hear me playing kind of ammunition roulette here with the intuition proc. And of course, we're going to reload an HE shell and just manage to dump it into the back of the S51. This thing scales really well with Brothers in Arms and a premium consumable because it can allow you to really get that intuition number down. I'm very lucky that I didn't die against the T-78, but a disaster as we failed to manage to hit the T-78 to secure what would have been 10 kills and a Pools medal in this game. There's still 4 tanks left on the enemy team. How many kills are we going to be able to get? It's one of those kind of games that if one more person hadn't, maybe we could have even gone for a medal that we've never been able to get before, which would be the Rezanai Heroes medal. So I'm going to come around the corner here and try and look for the Borsig, but unfortunately I'm going to get spotted by the T-78. I'm going to give a thank you to the SU-122-44 for finishing off the vehicle that would have probably been able to take me down. And the ISU manages to shut down the VK, and oh, absolute heartbreak, boys and girls. Just when you thought that you could keep pushing it to the limit, unfortunately, we have reached a bad state of velocity in this game as we aren't moving around anymore. 9 kills in 6.5 minutes and 4,000 or 5,000 damage. I didn't quite see. We'll have to take a look in the post-game stats. All of the kills in this game were dealt by me and the 2 remaining players, with only an artillery who's managed to finish off one of the enemy vehicles as well. This vehicle is capable of things that pretty much no other tank is at tier 8. Other tanks like the TS5 have armor and DPM, but they don't have the mobility. Other vehicles, like the ISU-152K, have really good DPM and really good alpha damage, but they don't have the flexibility with the turret. Of course, this thing is fallible, and before you reserve judgment as to whether this thing is outrageously overpowered, just wait for the statistics that we're going to be taking a look later on. I give my team a big thumbs up saying, nice job guys, what a comeback. I was proud of them getting through this one, and the fact that 13 of the frags have been distributed by their last 3 tanks alive and we managed to come back into this one, it was a beautiful game. Yak Panther says, yep, great, ISU-152 presses his affirmative key, and hopefully Thomas the Tank X1 in his ISU-152 will be able to find the M44 and get glorious vengeance for the destruction of my tank. But it doesn't look like it is actually going to be Thomas the Tank X1. It is going to be the SU-122-44, and wow, talk about a low roll. That is 390 alpha damage, pretty much min-rolling against the M44. Does manage to finish them off at the end of the game, and what a absolute stonking comeback. So an ace tanker here for our 1,794 base experience points, and a Radley Walters medal for our 9 kills, and a high caliber for the 5,000 damage that we dealt, and we also made 177,000 credits profit in this 6-minute lifetime. I wanted to feature this tank on the YouTube channel today for a couple of reasons. Firstly, today is the final day that you have the option of purchasing it, either through skipping the entirety of the battle pass or hopefully grinding through those last few stages today. So don't miss it if you're interested in the tank. Secondly, I want to highlight before all of you jump to be able to get this tank that if you're sitting undecided, then maybe you want to go and check out my full tank review on the vehicle. And that is because while this tank will be a monster when you set it up correctly in the hands of an experienced player who knows what they're doing, the actual win ratio on the TVP 100 is only at 50%. It's doing worse than the G-Saw, worse than the Turtle, worse than the TS5, and only barely better than the Scorpion and the SU-130PM. And I do expect, as, should we say, the better players get a little bit more bored of the tank, that its statistics are probably going to further go down. So while the TVP 100 is an absolute insane vehicle in World of Tanks, sometimes being insane isn't really a good thing. And this is the kind of tank that will be able to achieve fantastic results some of the time, more often in the hands of good players, but quite often as well, you're achieving some horrible results when you kind of get caught out, and then you wish you would have some gun depression or some armor to go along with it, or even just alpha damage to trade better. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for the World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, the Badger has won. And so you don't have to ask me twice to play British tank destroyers, leading to the highest damage per minute in World of Tanks. And once again, I'd like to give a massive thank you to Wargaming for their absolute heartfelt birthday card, or anniversary card, so to say, that went in the game. It's absolute privilege, and it's been so fun to give away what is mounting up to years and years and years of premium time to the community. And if you want to get those special 10th anniversary drops, then today is the final day, and I'm going live now for the rest of the day pretty much. So really looking forward to seeing you all live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.